It's certainly been a value creator for a long time in our industry. You can go back a couple of generations and it was probably starting up, but it really has accelerated, I would say, due to three or four factors in the last 15 or 20 years. And it's changed over that time too. M&A has become more prominent, but we've learned more about it. So I think it's done in a more sophisticated way. I'd say a factor that, if you go way back and look at history, deregulation of trucking unleashed many, many forces. And I think a lot of trucking companies had to get used to that, and they were inwardly focused and worked on that in the 80s and 90s. You then began to see a few companies in the 90s and 2000s start to do some M&A, different objectives. I think the big ones people think of are growth and diversification. And I think that still holds. I think that also, coming from a private equity background, I started in private equity in 2000. I think the emergence of private equity, which another way to think about that is the emergence of big chunks of private capital that want to invest in transportation and logistics. That big capital flow came in. It was just natural there were going to be mergers and acquisitions, because in private equity, the way we start in an investment is we acquire something, and then we have learned that as a core skill. So we work with our companies to acquire more companies, and the advantages of growth and diversification come true in many cases. So I think historically that's what I've seen, Sammy. And of course, like most things, as there have been more and more mergers or acquisitions that take place, people learn. It becomes more sophisticated. And I think you see that happening more and more. The other thing that then happens is you get competition. So there's now much more competition to acquire companies. So as a buyer, you've got to work harder. You've got to be more sophisticated. You have to really understand, and you've got to offer the right price. As a seller, I think you have many more options now when it comes to wanting to look at making, being part of an acquisition.